And welcome back to Clutch Time. This is your host, Rico. And today we are talking about the Houston Cougars. And we're talking about the coaching situation that the Houston Cougars are faced with. And so if you have not heard, Coach Sampson is saying that he is going to step down at the end of the season. And so we're going to be talking about what this means for the Houston Cougars. We're also going to be looking at some candidates that are linked to the Houston Cougars and talking about which coach may be best to go ahead and fill in for Coach Sampson once he steps down. And so let's start with the most recent news that, I think it's something that I will say I think a lot of people really expected just because it has been rocky for Houston this year. And there was the speculation that maybe Houston would want to part ways with Coach Sampson. Maybe he wanted to part ways with them. So it looks like that he's decided that that's what he wants to do. And so in saying this, now that we take a look at what is left with Houston, I know that, Houston still has a ton of talent. This program is still, a program that is very proud. I think it's a program that is certainly geared towards winning. I mean, they've been in the, final 8, the final 16 of Hoop Stereo. And so this is a team that I think they have those expectations and more. And I don't think that those expectations are going to change. I do think that it is going to be interesting to see how Houston now plays this, because make no mistake about it, Coach Sampson, very successful coach. He's an all-time great, actually, as far as his coaching wins, 763 wins to 368 losses, 675 is his winning percentage. And look, he's 20th on the list. And so you don't just replace Coach Sampson just like that, but we're going to see what happens. Look, I get it. Season, obviously, they had some success there, but make no mistake about it. This team is 8-13. Currently, right now, they're 4th in the conference at 3-2, and they're still right there. And so I want to see how this team is going to respond. You still have Carl Holmes. You still have Freddie Stonewall. You still have a very good, roster along with these 3 freshmen. And so I still think that Houston is right there in the mix. And I do feel like that maybe they can make a run and a push. Maybe they get some energy, knowing that this is going to be it for Coach Sampson. We'll see what happens. But now that, the end is essentially coming with Coach Sampson, we're looking at just the possibilities for Houston and who do they perhaps replace him with. And so I think it's pretty interesting when we look at the candidates that could possibly be replacing him. And so this was on Bleacher Report yesterday. This is JK reporting this, that looks like, there's a couple coaches that maybe the Houston Cougars might be looking to go after. We have Micth Henderson of Princeton. That's number 1. And then you have SimWorld Prep's finest in Dre Pope. You have Brett Lee. Yeah, you have Coach Kausa as well. And so, look, you've got some elite coaches. And so let's start with Micth Henderson. And should, Micth Henderson maybe make the jump and go over to the Houston Cougars? And so, look, I'll say this. I think that if you're Houston and you want to go after a coach, I think that certainly you would want to go after somebody that is in your conference, somebody that understands, from a recruiting standpoint, where the places are to hit. And I think, he's very familiar, obviously, with the campus and everything like that. So I think that that makes a lot of sense. And you're seeing exactly what he has done with this Princeton group. And so I'm not necessarily going to say that Houston has the more talented roster. I don't know about that. But, he can certainly lead talent. And so I just think for Micth Henderson, it doesn't make sense for him to lead Princeton. At least I wouldn't if I were him, because they were dead last season in the American Conference. They're 8th in the country. And he has one of the best rosters, I think, moving forward, and maybe all the country, because he's got, 7 freshmen. One of his main players that leads them in scoring in Tayshaun Penn. He's only a sophomore, and he's leading with 17.7 points a game. Look, this team, it is, I think, loaded, with talent. And I think it's only going to get better. He has a big man coming over from Somalia, a 7-footer. And so he's slated to be a starter as well. Look, Princeton is set. I would not leave this situation because I think that really he is just scraping the surface of how good Princeton can be. And I feel like he would be giving himself a disservice if he left the Princeton Tigers. So I would expect for him to stay. Next, let's go ahead and shift focus and look at some of these coaches here in SimWorld Prep. And starting with, I think, definitely a coach that certainly, if Houston can get him, I think that they would love him. And that is Brett Lee. I think that Brett Lee is a phenomenal coach for Houston at 70-33 as far as his wins are concerned. He's at 680 with the win percentage, and so that is phenomenal. Right now with Southeast Select, they're 7-6. But what you love most about him is just that he instills the discipline. And I think that that is maybe one of the things that's kind of been lacking this season with Houston is just the discipline. We've heard maybe stories that maybe Coach Sampson has lost the locker room. I think that Coach Lee is instantly, or he would instantly come to Houston and he would command the respect of the players and the program. And I think he's immediately going to make sure that that discipline is there. And we know that he's terrific at building a culture. And so, look, this program is proud. It wants to win. That's what he's about. He would build on that culture of winning. And so I think that he's definitely a coach that they would certainly want because of that. And next up, when you look at the system that he likes to run, look, he is very much, just geared to making sure that he makes sure his players do the basics and really follow the system to success. And so that's one of the things that you love. You follow the system, you can be very successful. And we know that he has a track record of really producing some good players, because look at Trey Turner with Tennessee. Look at the things he's doing there. You have Keandre Boldridge of South Carolina. He's doing some great things. These are just a couple players. And so Coach Lee can certainly get it done for you. Next, when you look at Coach Kausa, right? And so I think that he is another coach that I think the Cougars would certainly like to have as well. I know Minnesota is a team that might be interested in picking him up. But what I love most about him is he reminds me of Coach Ty Lue of the Clippers in the SWBA, because what he continues to do on a year-to-year basis is he gets really the most out of least. And what that means is that, he takes players that you do not expect to really get to a high level, and he gets those players to a high level. And so I think that if the Cougars are looking at him, you're thinking that this is a coach. We have talent here. We have some players that are at SWBA level. So you can only imagine what happens when you get him in the building to coach up, your program, and just really the impact that he's going to have on your players. And so I think that, yes, that makes a lot of sense if they were to go out and get him. And lastly, with Coach Dre Pope, look, I like Dre Pope a lot as well. I just keep saying that I like all of these guys, but I think it's going to be interesting between all of these candidates. And so I know he doesn't have the highest winning percentage out of all these coaches, but still 42-35. He's at a 551 win percentage, which that is pretty good. Look, he has been successful with the Bay Area Breakers. Currently, they're 6-6. They've got 2 tourney titles, and they are 20th in the power rankings. And so he knows exactly what to do. As far as leadership is concerned, you have to give him credit. Look, he is the chairman of SimWorld, the SimWorld Head Coaching Association. So we know he knows about leadership. This guy loves the game. He's always at games and things like that. We always see him there. And I think the thing about him is that he really just has the ability to develop talent. I think that is something that when you look at the recruiting class that Houston has, and then you're thinking about pairing Coach Pope with the fact that, look, he can come out and he can develop talent. I think that really speaks volumes here for Houston. And you know what? I do like the fact as well that he has gone through some adverse situations, because, I do remember the gambling scandal, and how he was able to come back from that. He was completely cleared of that. And so, look, I think because he's gone through that situation and come out, I think that is something that, it's a teachable moment. I think it's something that, with the players that you're going to interact with and the things that they're going to go through, that I think that they're going to be able to really, kind of adapt to coach in that way. And that's what you want. I think that once you start to get that type of bond, I think that you get the performance not only on the court, but I also think that is what you need to really shape players off the court as well. So I think that all these coaches really can be impactful. The one coach that I would be definitely out on, if I were the coach, would be Micth Henderson. So if I'm him, I'm not taking that job. I'm not even entertaining it. I think that Princeton is going to lock him up. But with these three prep coaches, look, I think that either one of them can make the jump out there. I'd love to hear what your thoughts are. Out of those three coaches, who do you think should come out and possibly replace Coach Sampson? And do you think that these coaches would be able to take Houston to another level? And so, as we always say, see the game, be the game. I'll see you guys on the next one. All right, it's clutch time. All right, peace.